This American Idol runner-up has gone from top of the charts to ahead in the polls. He's running for congressional office in North Carolina, and it's going really, really well.
Joining us now to discuss his political campaign and his life as a pop star is candidate for U.S. Congress, Clay Aiken. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, so what's harder, American Idol or running for office?
That's not a tough question at all. Running politics is a completely different world. It's a lot tougher, but I think it's a lot more important. So.
All right.
And you really went from a surprise contender to the leading Democratic candidate in this race. You know, what is the secret to your success, and did you expect it to go over so well with your audience?
Well, we still have a lot of work to do between now and November. We got 32 days left until the election. You know, I think the thing that's important is that people want to be listened to. People want to be heard, and that doesn't really happen in the congressional district that I'm running in. It hasn't happened over the past 3 years with the current incumbent, and I think that has a lot to do with our success. Is that people recognize that, you know, I didn't have to do this necessarily. I did this because I saw a vacuum of representation, and I'm getting out in the district and meeting as many people as possible and talking to them about what's important to them.
So, had you ever had political aspirations before American Idol? Were you the student body president? Did you run for office when you were in elementary school?
I was not. I think. Oh, you know what? I think I did run for class president in 5th grade or something like that. Didn't win. But
I didn't win either. But I won in high school.
Oh,
there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. I didn't necessarily have political aspirations. I started an organization for kids with disabilities right after Idol. Had a foundation, still have a foundation for children with mental disabilities to include them in programs with kids without disabilities. And that's been sort of a way for me to be an advocate for a group of folks who don't get listened to, whose voices don't get heard. And to me, this is in a way an extension of that, an opportunity to speak up for people whose voices aren't being heard, where I've grown up and where I've lived almost my entire life. So it's not a big change or a big transition for me. It's just being an advocate on a larger scale.
Yeah. And you're running as a Democrat in a Republican-leaning area. So why do you think residents should vote for you?
Well, I think, again, it has a lot to do with people being listened to, people being heard. The person who's in the seat right now went to Washington, sort of went Washington. She's voted against health care access for everyone, and then
this is Renee Elmers. Renee
Elmers, yes. She took her. She voted against health care access for everyone. She took her congressional plan. Anyway, she voted to shut the government down, and then went on TV a few days after shutting the government down, and refused to give up her paycheck during the shutdown. Said, "I need my paycheck. That's the bottom line."
That's not fair.
Well, you know, so a lot of the stuff that she's done has been very tone deaf and has not really represented people at home. And I think that people in the district that I'm running in, that I live in, it has been called Republican leaning. It's definitely voted for Republicans on the presidential during the presidential race. But if you look back historically, and even you look in 2012, even though Mitt Romney won in 2012 by a large margin, the Secretary of State in North Carolina, who's a Democrat, the Attorney General in North Carolina, who's a Democrat, all of them won in this district pretty handily. So it's a district that has an independent leaning voter. They don't vote for a party, they vote for a person. They may vote for one person in one party for president and a completely different party for a different seat. So it's a group of people who are independent and vote for who they know is going to listen to them.
Okay, so give us your pitch. Why should we vote for you?
Well, you know, like I said, it's about making sure that people are represented. And I've spent the past 11 years trying to advocate for a group of folks, a group of children, between my work with my organization for children with disabilities and my work as an ambassador for UNICEF, advocating for people who did not have their voices heard. And I have an opportunity now, and I have a responsibility, I think, in this new role with this new microphone, in a way, that I got from Idol, to use it to speak up for people who aren't being listened to.
But what about the economy? I mean, clearly this is a huge issue for a number of Americans. How will you help put some money in people's pockets, get them back to work, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, I mean, I think there are lots of ways we can do that. First of all, we need to make sure the minimum wage is at a level that people actually can live off of.
A livable wage.
That where people work 40 hours a week don't still end up in poverty. So I'm a big proponent of making sure we raise the minimum wage, but also doing things on top of that, like expanding the Earned Income Tax Credit, which was a Republican idea in the first place. But right now, even though it was a Republican idea, there are people in the House who are against it because it was presented by Democrats. So, but
like
that
Romney Care meets Obamacare.
That Earned Income Tax Credit incentivizes people to go to work and make sure they're not taxed back into poverty, and it incentivizes it makes sure that they, once they've worked 40 hours a week, that they are able to keep that money. I think also, so raising the minimum wage and expanding the earned income tax credit are big ways to keep money in people's pockets. Also, making sure that we are providing the types of education and the types of infrastructure where businesses want to come to the U.S. and want to stay in the U.S. and that when they do come here, they have the appropriate skilled labor. You know, it was just in the paper the other day that 1.7 million new jobs are going to be available between now and 2017. Those jobs need specialized skills, and there's specialized skills that a lot of people who work in manufacturing, who work in food processing plants, that are leaving the country, that are leaving my district
because
it's cheaper abroad, and because tax benefit, you get tax benefits for moving companies. Actually, we need to kill those tax benefits first of all, and we need to make sure that we don't incentivize people to take their jobs overseas. But when we do have new companies coming, we need to make sure that the labor force is trained and skilled so that they have the right education so that these jobs will come to North Carolina. They'll come to these areas, and this labor force that has lost jobs to folks taking them overseas will be trained and prepared for the new types of jobs coming in.
Wow. Now, it seems like you agree on some of the things that Obama's fighting for at the same time, but you recently told the New York Times that you don't want Obama to come campaign for you.
I don't think I said that. I said I was doing
clarify for us,
Well, why
please.
don't you read the quote? You got it. You got it in front of you?
We do not have the quote.
I was asked if I wanted him to come. I said, no, I like doing this on my own. I appreciate the fact that, you know, I've gotten to this place already with the help of a show. It's very important that since I've gotten this platform because of a TV show, that I'm able to show people that I can do this on my own, that I'm capable and competent and qualified and able to be their representative, and I don't need necessarily the help of someone else. Because, you know, part of our challenge is making sure people see me as someone who's more than just a singer, who's educated and capable. And you know, I really want to make sure that people recognize this is something I'm doing myself.
Do you think people are getting that message? Because initially, when I heard that you were running, I have to say I was very skeptical, and I was like, Clay, who?
Right. No,
but
it's
even
a challenge.
just talking to you right now, I'm very impressed, I have to say. Do you think that your constituents are getting that message?
It's a challenge that we have, but yes, when we get in front of people and we have an opportunity to talk to them, overwhelmingly people are seeing that. I think the issue, you know, what's at play for us is I have an opponent, an incumbent, who's got an approval rating that's abysmal, that's embarrassingly low, and people don't necessarily want to vote for her, but they need to see a viable alternative. And for them, I think they appreciate that I'm one of them. I came from I came from North Carolina. I've represented them on one TV show already, but I have to make sure that they understand that this is something that I'm serious about. This is something that I'm educated about. This is something that I'm passionate about, and I can only do that by myself. So,
And do you think your time on stage, you mentioned the show several times, you think your time on stage and television has prepared you for this political spotlight?
Political spotlight is very different than the show business spotlight, obviously. I'm familiar with certain aspects that come along with both of those businesses. You know, I think my work in my charitable work and my advocacy work has probably been the better preparation, just because you have to make sure you know the issues and you have to make sure that you're speaking up for people. Obviously, being comfortable in situations like this one, or being comfortable in press situations, it's handy. But I don't know that I learned much from the show that has prepared me for politics. I think life is what prepares you for that.
All right. Well, let's talk about your singing career. Is it over?
Well, this is the important thing for me right now. This is the important thing.
You've got a beautiful voice.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I'm using it in a different way.
I understand that, and I hear you on your megaphone, but will we hear you in the studio again? Will that happen?
I think this is what I'm focusing on right now. I mean,
Really?
I think this is the priority. I think it's more important than what I was doing before.
Well, you can sing your own campaign song.
You know, it goes along with that other discussion of making sure people understand that this is what I'm serious about right now.
Gotcha.
Getting out of that box is important to me as well. Making sure people see me as viable and credible is important to me. If I start singing, then I go back into the box.
Yeah.
That's true. Jesse Ventura doesn't wrestle, so
No,
I
he
got
doesn't.
you.
And my opponent's a nurse, and no one's asked her to take anybody's blood while she's on the campaign
That's very
trail.
So
true.
since you won't be singing, are you keeping up at least on television with American Idol? in its 14th season?
I have not watched Idol in years. Oh my gosh, it's been so long. And I'm quite busy right now.
Yeah, now that's behind you. Now you're moving on to bigger and better things, huh?
Yes.
All right.
All right. Well, Clay Aiken, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you very
here.
much. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
And good luck.
Thank you very
Go
much.
out and vote, people.
Yeah, see
All
you.
right. You're watching Arise Entertainment 360.